And we are live on YouTube. And hello, for those of you watching this video. We are going to check out the preseason 2022 and state of the game. Anyway, I think she's going to be talking about the things that will be happening in the 2022 season and what they are going to be testing out in the preseason, which is coming up very soon. So for those of you who are on the grind at the end of the season, this video is probably worth checking out because once the season is over, this is what we're going to be dealing with. Like last time, the big thing was that they completely redid the shop. They changed the shop, they changed the items, and so a lot of people who didn't play for a while and then came back, they were like, what? Right, so I don't think they're gonna be doing, I hope they're not gonna be doing something like that again, but let's take a look. Let's take a look.
Hey everyone, SafeLocked here on behalf of the League team. We have a lot to cover today, including our plans for preseason, challenges, and game modes. But first,
okay, first of all, what is this mood? She's like so serious and there's this ominous string music in the background. It's like setting me up for something really troublesome.
let's talk about the state of the game.
Okay, state of the game. Let's talk about it.
Overall, we're pretty happy with the state of League this season. But before we get into the details, let's dive into a topic that's been pretty popular lately, which is new champion balance.
Okay, yeah.
When we look at the data, we actually see that new champions have been pretty balanced on release this year, with the exception of Dr. Mundo. That said, there's more to healthy gameplay than just win rates, and we're still hearing that new champions feel unfair to play against, particularly when it comes to complex abilities or overloaded kits. If we're being completely honest, we don't think our champions have overloaded kits overall.
Okay. So here's the thing. Overloaded kits, right? One of the new champions that I personally fell in love with and that I spam now and that I enjoy playing is Akshan. I would say that at this point, I'm like an Akshan main in a way. I don't get bored playing him. I think he's really fun. That being said, he is overloaded. Definitely. I totally agree with the fact that he's overloaded. He has a shield. He has the 3-hit passive. He has revive. He has reset the mobility. He has stealth. And like, I get it. I get it. He's frustrated to play against. I like playing him. On the one hand, like I understand what she says when she says, I don't think they're overloaded because in a way, like even though I think that Akshan is overloaded, I don't think it's that difficult to understand him. It's a lot more difficult to understand Aphelios for me. Like I get all the different weapons, but as soon as you start like combining them and switching them, like I don't know, my brain just gets completely overloaded. Like I'm totally not made for Aphelios or Aphelios is not made for me. But in this case, like with Akshan, even though, yeah, he has a lot of stuff, a lot of things going on, it's not that difficult to comprehend. You know what I mean? If that's what she means, then I kind of agree, but I don't agree with the fact that I think they are a little bit overloaded, honestly.
But that being said, there have been times when we've given new champions too many tools and had to pull back later to give them more clear weaknesses. For example, Samira's ability to dash to allies was removed.
Oh yeah, Samira, of course.
Safety. Combined with her missile blocker, it made seeing
she's a darling.
Especially since that's one of her main forms
of all the overloaded champions out there.
Another thing we consider when we hear a champion feels bad to play against is their intended complexity. We try to make a healthy mix of high, medium, and low complexity champions. In this way, whether you like mechanical skill expression, point and click simplicity, or something in between, there's a new champion that interests you. For example, with Vex, we wanted to create a champion that was fairly easy to pick up, and we're happy to see she's hitting that mark.
Yeah, she's easy to pick up, but people are abusing her in like support. They had to like hotfix her or something because she was just like too good.
But beyond just how complex a champion is to play, there's also how difficult they are to understand. We want new champions to have unique gameplay, but you shouldn't need a wiki to know how to play with or against them.
You shouldn't need a wiki, guys. All you need to do is just spend 20 minutes on each ability passive. Just read it. Just read it in game. That being said, I understand where she's coming from.
Learning counterplay is a skill test we do think is important, but knowing what a champ can or can't do shouldn't be a part of it. This clarity is something we haven't always hit the mark on, especially with champions like Aphelios, who not only has a complex kit, but was also lacking UI clarity when he was released. Designing new champions is a constant balance between making something that's exciting, has clear counterplay, and isn't confusing. We're still trying to find that line, but we want to get to a spot where new champions aren't just numerically balanced, but that you all feel they're fair to play against.
Yeah. So like what she's saying actually is it's not that hard to like agree with because she says the numbers say one thing, but the way it feels is different. So maybe the numbers will be like, well, this champion is balanced because of win rate or because of pick rate or ban rate or whatnot. But at the same time, there is a different metric, which is a lot harder to gauge. And that is the metric of like how the champion actually feels. So maybe in terms of numbers, it looks balanced, but when you play against it, it's so frustrating or it's so difficult to understand that people don't know what to do and it feels overloaded. It feels overpowered. It feels like Riot just hoarded a bunch of things on top of this champion and be like, go Pokemon, and nobody understands what's happening. Even the person playing that champ is just like mashing their fists on the keyboard and things are happening. I understand. She's saying numbers say one thing, so it feels like everything is fine, but you guys are saying everything's not fine. So we're trying to figure out how to make it fine in both numbers and how they feel. So
beyond new champion releases, this season we've seen a wide variety of picks in every role. We've also seen a healthy improvement in diversity of playstyles across roles, especially in jungle and top lane. Some of this is due to direct champion changes, such as the kit adjustments that enable picks like Jungle Darius, Brand, and Morgana. New items like Anathema's Change.
Yeah, they basically forced everybody into the jungle.
Especially in top lane where we're seeing a ton of champion diversity. And finally, we know that some champion classes have been struggling after the item system update, and we've been working on some solutions to help them out. And this brings us to our plans for preseason. With that, I'm going to hand things off to Brightmoon, who will go more in depth on the upcoming changes.
Okay, preseason 2022, let's see.
Hey everyone, I'm Brightman, the lead producer of
Hello.
gameplay on League of Legends. League is like a house. Sometimes we need to do a big renovation to keep it working well, like when we overhauled the item system. And sometimes we just
I hope we're not getting into another big hall renovation here.
need to add some new furniture. For this year's preseason, we're sprucing things up with improvements to our existing systems, like items, runes, and the Elemental Rift. Let's start with our plans for items. While some champions and classes have lots of build options, we've still got others that don't feel like they've got a mythic or legendary that really speaks to them. So we're going to be adding some new items and tweaking some others.
New items?
This will include 2 new mythic items. The first one is a support tank item, perfect for champions that want to get aggressive and charge into the middle of a fight. When you immobilize an enemy champion,
Isn't the Locket of Iron Solari kind of like that, no?
all nearby enemies will take increased damage from your team for a short period of time. The second new mythic item is built
So
for
it's gonna add
mages.
damage.
We're looking for a little more survivability. It grants damage reduction that lingers for a few seconds after you get hit, and while the protection holds, you'll also get ability haste.
Aha! It kind of sounds like Immortal Shield Bow for mages.
We think it'll be particularly good for longer range mages who need a mythic that helps them survive a dive rather than pile on extra damage.
So here's the thing, like, this year especially, Riot was like, assassins! They put assassins everywhere, and they don't want to get rid of assassins or tone down assassins, so instead, they give, like, this antidote, which is this item, which I don't know if people will want to build just because of the enemy comp. Like, if you see lots of assassins on the enemy team, usually you would just try to rush like Zoya or something. But in this case, I guess you could just get a mythic that would provide you with this shield. But then you can't get like Ludens or Leandries or Everfrost. So I don't know. I wonder how popular this item is going to be.
When we updated League's item system, we wanted to give every champion strategic choices in every game. We still think that's the right goal for mythics, but our thinking has changed when it comes to legendary items. We think it's okay if some champions build the same legendary in most games if it's a perfect fit. But we also want you to have plenty of options, which is why we're improving legendaries for mages, assassins, and tanks. For example, assassins can look forward to a new legendary item that gives ability haste, and also refunds a portion of their ultimate's cooldown with enemy takedowns. Tanks that can never get enough mana will be happy with a new legendary item that grants.
So assassins will be able to use their skills even more. I don't know why assassins need a new legendary though. I feel like they're fine.
Bonus health based on total mana, and also burn some of it to create a shield whenever they immobilize an enemy.
So this is like a
Finally,
mana refund
mages who
for
are tired of being
tanks.
denied their hard-earned kills can rejoice. They'll be receiving a new legendary that grants Magic Pen against recently shielded enemies.
It's like Serpent's Fang. Is that what the item was called for assassins that breaks shields?
For runes, We think there are some good targeted changes
That they
we need
nerfed to
make.
the ground, by the way.
Most of all, we feel the Inspiration Tree's identity has been pretty unclear, and we'd like to broaden its keystone use cases. For example, we're reworking Glacial Augment to double down on its fantasy of slowing down enemies. We are also making some modifications to Lethal Tempo to lean into its attack speed fantasy and give it a more distinct use case in the Precision Tree.
They love to say
Next
the word
are bounties.
fantasy.
Champion bounties give teams who are behind a way to get back into the game without being a straight shot to victory. And this year, we're adding a second way for teams to try and make a comeback.
Okay.
Objective bounties will work like champion bounties, except you cash them in by taking map objectives, like towers or Baron. They ramp up slowly when the enemy team lead grows, and the bounty is shared with your whole team, regardless of who claimed it. Taking objectives really is the best way to come back when you're behind, so we want to help make that a clearer and more rewarding strategy.
Okay, so it's pretty well known that League is a very snowbally game, right? So if you fall behind, you just fall further behind. It's very difficult to stay even unless the enemy makes like this super bad mistakes. So that's what they're trying to fix, I guess, to make it a little less snowbally and give a chance to the team that's behind to come back by focusing on the objectives.
That said, if a team is really far ahead, objective bounties won't change that. Being the better team should always get you a win. So we'll be watching the new bounty system closely to keep things in check. Finally, let's talk about our biggest addition
how that's
this
gonna work
season,
out.
Dragons.
Yo, he said like dragons. What's happening with
I
dragons?
really like how each dragon creates unique terrain, grants powerful buffs, and adds more strategy to the mid and late game. So this preseason, we're adding 2 more. Up first is the Hextech Dragon. When your team defeats it, you'll all gain additional ability haste and attack speed. And if you claim the soul, you'll receive a chain slow that works kind of like Static Shiv's passive. When this dragon takes over the rift, it creates Hextech gates that can transport you to set locations across the map.
This dragon is overloaded, okay? It's not even the champion that's overloaded. It's the dragon. My goodness. They're trying to make these dragons more like impactful, I guess. Because a lot of times if you really snowball in the beginning, you don't even need to worry about the dragons. But if it's like a Hextech dragon, actually, I don't know. Maybe it won't have that much of an impact, but like ability haste, chain slow, portals throughout the map.
The second dragon joining the party is Hextech's darker sibling, the Chemtech Drake. When you slay it, your team will deal increased damage when your HP is low, letting you turn around those close team fights. This dragon soul provides a second chance at life. Well, sort of. When you die, you'll enter a zombie state, where you can still cast abilities and continue fighting when you'd normally be looking at a gray screen. And when the Chemtech dragon putrefies the map, it creates camouflage zones in fixed locations.
It sounds overwhelming, but maybe it's not going to be. Maybe it's gonna be fine. Everybody camouflage in one spot. It's totally fine, guys. So what about like auction? Let's say you are in a zone, not near a wall, but it's stealth zone. So 2 new dragons, Chemtank and Hextech. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about these.
These dragons might seem more impactful than the current ones. And, well, they are. Our goal is to add more unique encounters and meaningful strategy to the mid and late game. That said, these are some pretty big changes, and we're ready to adjust if they're making too much or too little of an impact. You can expect to see all of these changes on PBE in a couple of weeks, and we'll be looking for your feedback in the months ahead. Outside of preseason, something we've heard from all of you is that you'd like more ways to express yourself and your achievements in League. For some of you, ranked is how you define your progress, and that's great. We don't want to change that. But for those of you who aren't focused on the rank climb, there aren't great ways to express your own progress. Champion Mastery and Eternals help you show off your skills on a particular champ.
Who cares about Eternals?
Tell the story of your broader League legacy. The new challenges system should achieve just that. Challenges rank up over time, showcasing your increasing mastery and legacy across a bunch of different systems, modes, and gameplay, making it a little different than just a standard achievement. We want to highlight not just your rank and champion mastery, but also your inventiveness, breadth of play styles, collection, and everything else in between. Want to showcase your knack for never dying in ARAM? Or how great you are at killing minions in SR in the first 10 minutes? Maybe you've collected over 100 champions or love participating in events. All of this is now possible to track and display your progress with challenges.
I like this. I like this.
You'll get the first glimpse of challenges when they hit PBE next month.
Challenges,
The
I
full
like it.
system will launch early next year. That's all I have to share with you today. Thanks so much for watching. And here's SafeBlock
Thank you
again
for
to
talking
talk
to me.
about game modes.
Game modes.
When it comes to game modes, one thing we've been hearing from you all is that you'd like more variety in the modes we bring back alongside events. So let's talk about it. To start, we actually agree that the existing rotation of game modes can make some of the most popular modes like Earth and One for All feel a bit stale. Some of you have asked why we just don't bring back some of our other older game modes like Star Guardian Invasion or Ascension to mix things up. And the answer is that bringing back old modes isn't as easy as flipping a switch. League is constantly changing, which means all of our existing modes require constant upkeep. For example, when we released Yumi, we had to figure out how she'd function in One for All. What happens when a Yumi attaches to a Yumi who is attached to a Yumi? Because of upkeep like this, we have to be very selective about the modes we maintain. And right now, there are just too few popular modes that feel worth the investment compared to making brand new modes or updating more resonant ones for you. We've mentioned this before, but we think the sweet spot for game modes are ones that amplify champion fantasies and really build on what you love about your champs and Summoner's Rift. So moving forward, we're focusing on adding more game modes that hit this goal. And to that, let's talk about Ultimate Spellbook. First and foremost, you all seem to
not
really
new
love
maps.
this one. It was one of our highest engagement modes ever, second only to Earth. And beyond popularity, we're super happy with how long you spent making oversized
everything on the
champions with
Rift.
Cho'Gath Salt. And by that we mean the total amount of time you spent in Ultimate Spellbook stayed high throughout the event. This winter, we'll be bringing back Ultimate Spellbook with a bigger ult pool. We'll also be making some adjustments
So they're not
for junglers to
making
ensure
new
that your
game modes,
experience
but
in
they're
Ultimate
just
Spellbook
gonna,
is just as fun as everyone else's. If
change
you'd like to
up
learn
the
more about our
Ultimate
approach to game
Spellbook
modes,
mode and
you
bring
can
it
check out the
back.
dev blog that's coming out today. That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you're enjoying Worlds as much as we are. And for any pros watching, once again, please pick a Mumu.
They surely are picking a Mumu. You've made him. You made them pick a Mumu. But anyway, Preseason 2022, state of the game. A lot of changes, actually. The biggest one for me that I remember is the new dragons, right? There's going to be some new items. They talk about champion balance. Basically, they think everything's fine. They don't need to change too much. They're gonna keep going, guys. They're gonna keep doing what they were doing. And also the snowbally nature of the game. They're trying to address it, sort of. And there's not going to be any new game modes, just the Ultimate Spellbook that they're going to kind of revamp. So that's what I'm getting out of this video. But anyways, guys, what do you think about Preseason 2022? And what do you think about the changes coming up? The attitude, I guess? What do you think about their opinion on the champion balance? Like, I already talked about it, but you guys can let me know what you think. And what do you think about the new dragons? Do you think they're going to be as impactful as it seems or not? It's hard to say, of course, before everything starts. So in the preseason, we're going to see how it all turns out. And at least there's going to be time for them to adjust it, to balance it, to change it, to do whatever they need to do. But I hope it's not going to be like too overwhelming. It's probably not going to be. It usually feels like that, but it never is. I mean, there are a lot of changes coming in, and I can see how that could be overwhelming. I agree with some things, I disagree with some things. I do think that some champions are really overloaded, and I play one of them. It's difficult to reach that balance, you know? And then they are forcing like certain classes of champions, like assassins and stuff, into like literally everywhere. And then, well, how do we deal with that? Let's give a shield to everybody. But how do we deal with shields? Oh, let's give them items that break shields. So, interesting. It almost feels like it's less about the champions and more about the items, but maybe that's just how I feel. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section.